Hello, I have 3 cars. They all fill their own little role. For instance, my 1983 Porsche 944 is my sports car. It's the fun car. My 1969 Saab 96 is the project car. It doesn't even run, but it's a load of fun anyway. And my third car, the utility vehicle, is a 2006 Ford F-150. Now, I'm a college student right now, and the limit of that is you can't bring more than one vehicle down to college at a time without having a house with a garage or some ridiculous strategy to get the vehicles back and forth to home and college. So, when it's the winter or when I don't have my Porsche at college, this has to make do. So, on this episode of Aging Wheels, I'll be talking about how this does as a sports car. Well, this is interesting. So right as I started filming, I found this couch on the side of the road, a gravel road nonetheless. It was just taking up the ditch, minding its own business. And if I was in a Porsche 944 driving around having a good time, I wouldn't have been able to pick up this couch. I would have just had to drive by and leave it there. But I'm in a Ford F-150. So what did I do? I picked it up. I don't know what I'm going to do with this couch at this point, so instead of thinking about it, I'm just going to do the rest of this video with a couch in the back. So how does the world's #1 selling vehicle do as a sports car? Now don't laugh, it's not as stupid as it sounds. I was going to start out by saying there are 2 really good points of it, but now I can add another one. So there are 3 really good things about this as a sports car. I'll start with the first one. The steering is magnificent for what you would expect out of a pickup. It's hydraulically assisted and it has a great amount of weight, a great amount of feel for what it is. I'm really surprised about that. I mean, I'm going from a 944 with manual steering, but this has a great amount of feel even compared to that. It's just great all around. Now, I've driven a 2012 F-150 and they went to electric power steering later on, and I can tell you it is nowhere near as good as this one. It's just numb and lifeless, pointless, and it's an average car. It's like driving a Camry as far as the steering goes. The second point I wanted to mention is that it has a limited slip differential. Now you'd expect that being a 4-wheel drive truck. There is no weight over the rear, so it just spins up both rear tires like nothing. And the third point I was going to mention of really good things about this as a sports car. As you might have noticed, there's a couch in the back. Can you do that with your Mazda Miata? I don't think so. Also, unlike a 944, this has 4 doors and 5 seats, so I can actually haul people of normal size instead of 2 people and 2 amputees. Very short amputees, I might add. Now let's talk about the more obvious chunk of the video, which is the bad things about it being a sports car. For one, it weighs 6,000 pounds. I know, I've taken it to a scale with me in it. It weighs 6,000 pounds. So it's quite heavy. The front suspension is a lot stiffer than you might imagine. Actually, you know what? It's a pickup. It's probably just as stiff as you would imagine. The rear suspension is also very stiff, and there's a lot of suspension travel in it. So that means it has a rock-hard ride, even if it weighs 6,000 pounds. And all of that weight is over the front axle. There's almost nothing over the rear if it's unloaded. I mean, granted, right now there's a couch in the back, so it's loaded up in the rear. But in the front is where all the weight is. It's a terrible weight distribution. So when you go into a corner at too high of a speed, the front end just pushes on. If you go into the corner with too high a speed on gravel or snow or anything else, the front pushes on. It's like the steering is not doing anything. What makes it worse is that there's no weight over the rear, and if you're in 2-wheel drive mode, as I am most of the time, drifting is impossible. I don't mean drifting as just being a hooligan and running around all over the place. I mean drifting as in weight transfer, nice oversteer coming into a corner. It just doesn't happen. You get lots of understeer, and there's no way to transfer weight to the rear wheel so it comes around nicely. It's not going to happen. You may not be able to drift this thing very well, but It can do donuts because it's American. Oh, corner, time to understeer. I really hope you heard that on the video because that was tremendous. Also, something just got rearranged in the back and it probably wasn't the couch. And because of the weight transfer issue, in four-wheel drive mode on the gravel or the snow or any place you might be having some fun, that is the predominant characteristic, understeer. So you go into, I want to say a corner, but if I'm doing that kind of driving, I'm usually in a wide open field. But when I go to turn, it doesn't do anything for a little bit, then it starts to turn, and as soon as it turns, it just snaps into oversteer, and you get these massive, ugly drifts, and it's wonderful. That's probably the most fun you'll ever have in this pickup is four-wheel drive running everywhere. That said, get some better tires because these all-terrains suck. Since there are no corners in sight right now, I will tell you about this pickup's biggest flaw. And I don't just mean as a sports car, which is a stupid premise, I might add. Just in general, driving it, it just sucks the joy out of everything. The transmission, it sucks. It's a 4-speed automatic with overdrive, so basically a 5-speed. You have a torque converter to suck away all your fun. But the worst part is the tremendous amount of lag. Let me demonstrate. My finger represents my foot. I'm going to move my finger at the same time I move my foot down to represent when I'm accelerating. Now, I don't know if you can hear the engine over the microphone, but hopefully you can. Let's do it. It took almost a full second to downshift. Now, when you're going into corner and flying out of it, a second is a long time, and by the time you actually downshift and get any power down, you're already gone, and you wonder what happened. Now, the engine of this thing is a 5.4 liter Ford modular V8 with 3 valves per cylinder. It makes about 300 horsepower, and it's pretty sluggish, but it does the job, and supposedly it's reliable, I think. I don't know. It might not be reliable. I could just be blowing smoke. It doesn't make a good noise. Now, I'm sure you've heard lots of F-150s with aftermarket dual exhaust on them or some sort of straight pipe configuration, and I think, personally, they sound terrible. I'm going to leave this exhaust stock as long as it doesn't rust because it's just not a very good sounding engine. So the question remains, can this replace my 944 when my 944 isn't available? Hell no, it can't. But I can haul a couch. You don't need to use a blinker at a roundabout. Everybody knows which way you're going. You have only one choice. If you want to really confuse people, put on your left blinker at a roundabout. Eat in the power extremely early. Ah, there it downshifted. My box keeps falling around. It's unpleasant. I think before we leave here, I better do one more donut. Slow going. I'm doing a donut with a couch! Just leave and nobody ever saw you.